Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to my weekly update. It seems all things party conference at the moment. It was the Labour Party conference at the beginning of this week, so I was in Brighton on Sunday and Monday, and we had really good engagement. Delighted to welcome Sir Keir Starmer onto our stand on Monday morning and have a really good conversation with him, and indeed many other members of the shadow team. Emily Thornberry joined us for our fringe event that was chaired by Stuart Roberts, Deputy President, on Monday evening. We had a lot of MPs and activists visit the stand, and so proud of the team because they actually won Best Stand at the Labour Party conference, so a great achievement. And of course, that stand goes straight from Brighton to Manchester for the Conservative Party conference this weekend. So a lot of meetings planned. We've got our fringe event on Monday evening. George Eustace, amongst many others, will be on the panel and speaking at that event. Never been more important at this time of enormous change and, if I'm honest, enormous turmoil. When I look at the situation with CF, with CO2, the word I'd say is missing right now is resilience. You know, government has really got to look at how we remain resilient. And when we're talking about resilience, access to a reliable and competent workforce to keep effectively the show on the road has never been more important. And this is now really building at pace, and there's not a sector that is not impacted by it. Absolute crisis in the pig sector at the moment that I really hope will be resolved in the coming days. Pleasing to see the response from the poultry sector to a visa scheme and also for the hauliers. But the reason the whole chain came together was we need a whole chain approach. We need a COVID visa scheme in place that touches every single part of the supply chain. And as I said, no sector unaffected by this. I know the situation in dairy, very serious. I know growers have never felt more beleaguered, I don't think, by the current environment than they do now. So urgent action needed. We need a COVID visa scheme in place now to deal with the short term. We need the long-term permanent seasonal agricultural workers scheme in place at scale. And we also need a very long, hard look at what the future of immigration policy will be, because what we have in place right now is simply not working. There are bridges needed to be built to the new world. A lot of it can be done, but it needs to have bridges built to it. Otherwise, we will compromise our own production, which we already are. We're seeing record levels of food waste on farm. And ultimately, we do not want to compromise the British consumer, who, of course, is ever demanding more British. So a lot going on, a lot of engagement. And I also, just to finish off with, had my first meeting with Anne-Marie Trevelyan, the new Secretary of State in the Department of International Trade. Now, she comes into the hot seat at the final closing stages of the Australian FTA and also with New Zealand as well. So both of those ministers due to visit the UK in the coming days, and it will be essential that they hang on in these final stages to the important remaining requirements on the TRQ and the safeguard measures. So much jargon involved with trade, but it really does matter that we get this right, and the Prime Minister holds his nerve. I did suggest to her that he didn't put another date in the diary. I think if you're negotiating, you've got to be prepared to stay at the table for as long as it takes to negotiate. The moment you put a date in the diary, they do have you banged to rights, effectively, as we saw with Australia and the G7 and the handshaking moment of the Prime Minister in Australia, Scott Morrison, and our Prime Minister, Boris Johnson. So I'll keep you informed of what is happening on CF. We're having weekly meetings to try and find out what is going on with government, with the situation with CO2, but just as importantly, the situation with ammonium nitrate as well. So as ever, it's frenetic. But please do take care, look after yourselves, and I really look forward to speaking to you again next week. Many thanks.